I ask myself this question every single day. And every day I wake up, I check TikTok to see what's going on in the world, and I see that this day is just as bad, if not worse, as the day before. And just like the day before, there is still no cohesive action, no collective movements towards actually fixing the problem. If you found yourself to this page based off my recent political content, I do want you to know that I am an astrologer and a tarot card reader. This is actually the account of a spiritual, magical lady who just so happens to also really feel grounded in the world around her. And deeply at her core and at her soul, for love of all mankind, yearns and burns to fix things, to help people see where we're at and where we're going. Astrologically, this is a time of either war or revolution in the United States. Between our Pluto return and Uranus's upcoming transit into Gemini, it is coming. It is coming. I don't know how to impress that enough. This is not to fear monger, but we have reached a tipping point where voting, protests, signing petitions is not going to work any longer. The problem that we have is that those of us who want to make the United States a better place, which, because of our reach, ultimately also makes the world a better place, are splintered and divided. We do not have a powerful leader. We do not have a common cause. They have us all so distracted by all of the little things that we fail to see that the little things cannot be fixed within the framework of the big thing that actually needs fixing. You're upset about abortion laws on either side of the fence? They cannot be adequately and properly fixed in the current system. Want us to stop funding genocide in Palestine? Cannot be fixed within the confines of our current system. Want due process for immigration laws to be properly applied? Cannot be fixed in the current system. We need to stop bickering at and with each other about all the dumb little shit. Because in all reality, no matter what we all decide down here at the bottom, no matter who wins the little bickering wars, those at the top do not care. We could collectively all get together and say, you know what? We actually have decided that abortion is a great thing, and that is what all of us as Americans want. Those of us that we have elected to represent us could in turn look at us and say, well, you know what? We've actually been paid to enact laws that are anti-abortion by those that are higher and have more money than you have because they want you guys having babies. So we don't actually care what you want or think. That is the reality that we live in, guys. And the reality is that in that situation, those of us are not all going to look at each other and be like, did you guys fucking see that happen? And then collectively turn to fix that problem. We're all going to look at each other and be like, well, that's the guy you voted in. And then we're going to just erupt into arguments. Do you see how that is not going to help anybody get anywhere? It's not going to advance any of our wants, needs, desires, and rights. We need a leader who can unite us. We need a leader who can narrow the scope of the cause down to the bare bones, the actual problem. The framers of our Constitution were looking to create a government or a governing body that was weak in nature. They wanted communities and states to have more pull, more power over their smaller groups of people and a weaker decentralized government, or they wanted a decentralized federal government. This is because they experienced tyranny under the crown. So we had a revolution, and then they drafted a document whereby the First Amendment was literally written in such a way that those rights needed in order for citizens to be able to properly and intelligently engage in democracy were fiercely protected. Press, speech, assembly, these are all things that the framers wanted to ensure, and religion. We get a lot of our ethics from that, okay? These are all things that the framers wanted to make sure that we had access to. Freedom of press without any manipulation. They wanted to make sure that we had the ability, the knowledge, the know-how to govern ourselves. That is a very important aspect of our governing document. And then, almost as if to say, and this is important, we're not fucking around. We mean business. We do not want to be governed. We want to govern ourselves. And we are so attached to that idea that we are willing to lay down our lives for it. And in order to double down on that idea, they then wrote the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment was not written for hillbillies. It was written for patriots. Now, I'm not saying that I endorse violence in any way, shape, or form. However, I am simply stating the facts. I am simply stating that it is the responsibility of the citizens, when their government becomes tyrannical, to do everything in their power to put an end to it. If you've never read the Constitution, I would suggest maybe going and doing so now. We must stop fighting each other. We must narrow down a centralized cause and then collectively put all of our energies and efforts into that. And then once that is settled and squared away, only then can we really truly worry about all of the other stuff. I'm out of time, but that's my heart.